Let's talk more about the New York Jets, who picked up a huge win, a statement win, a euphoric win over the Patriots on Thursday. And joining us to do that is the host of the Turn on the Jets podcast and the Badlands podcast with Rodgers. Joe Caporoso joins us now. Joe, really appreciate your time as always. Happy Victory Sunday to you.
Happy Victory Sunday. I mean, 2 Jets wins in 1 week. These are good times for us right now. We got to cherish them while we have them.
No doubt. I mean, it's the first time I read the Jets have won 2 games in 4 days since 2010, which is also, of course, the last time this team was good and made the playoffs. So it's just wild to even say that out loud, just how long it's been. But when you think back to Thursday, Joe, of course, we got to start with Aaron Rodgers. Were you surprised, not that maybe he played well, but one, how well he played, and 2, just how athletic and how mobile he looked weaving in and out of the pocket?
The mobility was the most pleasant surprise. We hadn't seen a lot of that the first 2 weeks. He looked a little stiff and uncomfortable in the pocket at times. He just had a different looseness to his game, and he seemed very comfortable taking off when he needed to. And more importantly, was just able to create off script and with his off-platform throws and allow the Jets to move the chains in situations that they just have not been able to move the chains on in recent years. Second and long, third downs. These are situations that Jet fans are very familiar ending up with punts, not moving the chains. So to see Rodgers that comfortable and that locked in right from the first snap, you could tell he had it right away. That's the guy that Jet fans have been waiting to see. That's the game we've all been waiting to watch for what honestly seems like an eternity. And you look at how quarterback play has been around the league so far. If Rodgers can consistently play anywhere near that level, it's going to give the Jets a great chance to win just about every week because points are harder to come by, at least so far this season. So the Jets being able to consistently score 3 touchdowns every single week, beyond being totally foreign to us, is also pacing very well comparatively to the rest of the league.
Joe, I think it was your Twitter account, your tweet that I referenced on my YouTube show the night of. The Jets last year did not score their 9th offensive touchdown until the Buffalo game in Week 11 last season. I mean, the fact that they've been able to do what they've been able to do so far, I mean, yes, the bar is low for Jet quarterbacks, but just watching an offense is just like an unfamiliar feeling for all of us. It's crazy what having a quarterback who's just competent can do for this team.
It's a complete game changer. It's just been so hard in recent years to score touchdowns. This offense feels like since 2015 they've been scoring about 1 touchdown a game. And to be able to score them in bunches now, and to see a quarterback, I think, really elevate the play of the people around him, you would just see how Allen Lazard looks like a completely different player now. Conklin just had the most yards he's ever had in an NFL game. Mike Williams is getting back up to speed and making plays. They have both running backs rolling. Gibson got involved. Everyone is involved in the offense, at least in that game. Ruckert had a couple catches. So to have a quarterback who's elevating the players around him, the Jets have not had that since maybe like Chad Pennington's first year in the early 2000s. Fitzpatrick was really Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker dragging him along. Rodgers is making Lazard look like the best version of an NFL player he can be. Same with Conklin. And, what's nice about this offense in some ways is that it feels like they haven't really scratched the surface yet because him and Garrett Wilson are still not fully on the same page. I would say Brees is yet to really hit that massive home run that we've seen from him in recent years. So there's more room for growth on this unit, which is encouraging. And if Rodgers is just going to get more and more comfortable, Mike Williams is just going to get more and more comfortable. ADT is just going to get more and more comfortable. They should continue to get better week over week.
Joe Caporoso with us here on the Jake Asman Show, founder of Turn on the Jets, host of the Badlands podcast with SNY's Rodgers on Patreon as we talk about the Jet win over the Pats on Thursday. Joe, switching to the defense now, I mean, Will McDonald, 5.5 sacks in the last 2 games. He almost makes you forget about Haason Reddick, which we'll get into here coming up. But what did you make of McDonald's performance and just the defense as a whole dominating the game the way they did on Thursday?
Yeah, look, I think everyone got all over the defense, and rightfully so for their performance against San Francisco in prime time. And really since, Will Levis did that bowling ball player, whatever the hell he was doing in that second the Jets game, they've really turned it around, and they've basically been completely dominant outside of that one Calvin Ridley pass, which I think was a bit fluky. So they've dialed it up, and they've looked like the unit they have been in recent years under Robert Saleh. Certainly the offenses that they're playing has helped. But to see them flying around the way they are, and they're doing this while being really banged up. No C.J. Mosley. They were missing D.J. Reed in week 2. They have Sherwood stepping in now. Obviously, they lost Jermaine Johnson. So, to see Will McDonald really look the part of a first-round pick, they badly, badly need that right now, considering how thin they are in the defensive line. And look, they still could certainly use Haason Reddick, especially with Jermaine Johnson out for the season. But the fact that they're getting the year they're getting so far from McDonald, and then getting that group rounded out now by an encouraging Solomon Thomas season, by contributions from undrafted free agents like Leonard Taylor, who was finally active in week 3. Sherwood starting to look the part of the guy we were hoping he would be in recent years. It's impressive on the coaching staff. They dealt with a lot of injuries and adjustments. And the last 6 quarters, the defense has been really good. They've locked it down from a point perspective. They're sacking the quarterback. They're forcing turnovers. And they don't need to be the best defense in football with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. But if they can be, top 10, top 12, that's going to be good enough for them to be a playoff team in the AFC.
No doubt. And what did you think of the fact that, for the first time in the Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich era here, they blitzed the way they did? I thought that was a really encouraging sign from the coaching staff to basically attack the way they did defensively.
It was good to see them get out of their comfort zone. I think that the staff did a really nice job on Thursday. They've generally struggled on short weeks, but I really liked what they did on both sides of the ball. They were more aggressive on defense. They did not let Jacoby Brissett sit in the pocket at all. They came right after him. They've been effective using Quincy Williams as a blitzer. They've been effective using Chuck Clark as a blitzer. Good for them to throw up some variance in their looks. And then offensively to come out with the spread and come out with a little tempo and to use the 2-back set with Breece and Allen out there. This coaching staff has rightfully got a lot of heat. They've been good in the past 6 quarters or so. And defensively, they're going to have to do some different things, especially if they don't have Reddick and they don't have Jermaine Johnson. And there's going to be times they're playing without Mosley or Reed. You got to try some new things to keep offenses guessing. And, I know Denver won today, but that should be another favorable matchup for them next week, going against a rookie quarterback at home, where they should be able to attack the way they attacked Levis and Jacoby Brissett.
Joe Caporoso from Badlands Turn on the Jets with us here on 880 ESPN. Jake Asman with you till Mets pregame coverage starts at 6:25. Joe, when it comes to Haason Reddick now, what are your thoughts on where things stand between the Jets and Reddick? Because it kind of feels like if they weren't going to get something done now with 10 days after the win on Thursday before they play Denver next week, I really don't know when anything's going to get done. What are your thoughts on where things stand with Haason Reddick?
It's been such a baffling situation all the way around on both sides. We could talk about the blame game all we want. It just doesn't make sense at this situation how much money Reddick is giving up, and I don't think anyone doubts that he can be highly productive in this defense and go get himself another payday after that. For the Jets, you certainly need him now. You needed him even before Jermaine Johnson got hurt. You're in an all-in, must-win season. Find a way to get it done, but it does sound like and seem like Reddick is being particularly stubborn with this, and that there just hasn't been any meaningful dialogue in recent weeks. So, at what point does he show up so he misses accruing a season? This would be a logical time to show up where you have this sort of mini bye week. If it doesn't happen now, are we talking about before week 10? Are we talking about at the Jets bye week? Or does this just never happen and the Jets cut bait and trade? I think he does show up at some point. I would really hope it's in the next week or two. But this whole situation has just been one of the more bizarre ones that we've seen. And I think there's blame to go around on each side of it. And the Jets need to find a way to add more of their defensive front in the stretch run. I think they can get by right now, but if they're going to try to be a serious contender in the AFC, they're going to need another meaningful addition to that defense. Hopefully it can be Reddick since they've already made the transaction, but it's fair at this point to doubt whether it will be.
As far as the offense, Morgan Moses goes down with an injury. Thank God it's only 2 to 4 weeks. Olu Fashanu will fill in at right tackle. Do you feel like Joe Douglas is already vindicated with the Fashanu pick over Brock Bowers or maybe a receiver in that spot?
Fashanu looked great all summer, so I think a lot of us were feeling good about the pick just for the long-term benefit of it. Now, look, was it challenging last week to see like Brock Bowers making plays and the Jets were struggling to, find some secondary targets? That goes away very quickly when you see Rodgers spreading the ball around, and then all of a sudden Fashinu's going to need to start the next 3 or 4 games and plug right in. And good on the Jets staff for playing him at left and right tackle throughout the summer because he certainly needed to be the first tackle off the bench. And I think he will be. I mean, you had to assume at some point this year either Morgan Moses or Tyron Smith were going to miss time just because of their age and their injury history. We all kind of thought Fashiono would probably find his way into starting 4 to 6 games. What's going to be interesting is if he plays really well the next couple weeks, does the job go back to Moses? My guess is Moses is only going to miss 2 or 3 weeks at the most. He's a pretty tough guy. He played through some serious injuries last year, and the diagnosis does not seem to be as bad as initially thought. So it'll be interesting to see how the Jets handle it. That's a first-world problem, though. If Olu plays well off the bench, there's different things the Jets could do with heavy looks. And, Tyron Smith gets banged up, but then have Moses back and Fashiono. You can kick him to left tackle. So they have options. And to have them up front to keep the momentum going on the offensive line is great because the offensive line has been very good so far, and we're not used to seeing that level of protection. And it's something that the Jets just have to have with Aaron Rodgers at the age he is.
Final question, Joe. Watching Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins, is it fair to say the AFC East will come down to either the Bills or the Jets?
I think so. I don't know how Miami is going to overcome Tua missing an extended period of time, and it's just hard to project how many games he's actually going to end up playing this year. And if they get themselves in a pretty big hole, they already have the loss to Buffalo on the record sheet. It does feel like it's going to be a 2-team race. Certainly, New England's not going to be in the mix. So you start to have your eyes drift to Jets Bills on Monday night. Which is not too far away. Now, the Jets can't look ahead, right? They got to handle business at home against Denver. Minnesota is certainly going to be a difficult game, a more difficult game than we expected. It's already challenging enough going to London. But that Jets-Bills game is going to be a really good early measuring stick for both teams because it does feel like it will come down to the two of them for the division title. And the Jets have played well against Buffalo in recent years. They've been able to beat them twice with Zach Wilson at quarterback. They haven't got a shot at them with Rodgers healthy or with having a capable quarterback. So it's going to be a really interesting game. That environment for that game should be something else, comparable to maybe what we saw last year in week 1. Although, again, it seemed like it was quite an environment this past Thursday night.
No doubt. Joe, really appreciate the time here on a Sunday. Enjoy your stress-free Jet football Sunday, and I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Joe Caporoso, founder of Turn on the Jets, and he is the host of the Badlands podcast with SNY's Connor Rodgers on Patreon. Both those guys do a tremendous job if you're a fan of the Jets. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, get you up to date on some of the scores around the league. Ravens pounding the Dallas Cowboys, who look like they're about to be 1-2 if the result holds. So Dallas 1-2, Giants 1-2, meeting on Thursday night at MetLife. We'll talk about that and much more. Keep it here. It's Jake Asman with you till 6:25 tonight on ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app. As far as the Jets go, I've seen a lot of non-Jet fans try and poo-poo the win on Thursday over the Patriots.
Well, the Patriots suck. They're not any good. Brady and Belichick aren't there anymore.
I've heard a lot of that, all right? And I want to say this. There's a lot of people whose hamstrings are probably hurting from the back pedal we're now seeing. I thought the Patriots had this great defense. I thought Ramondre Stevenson was going to run the ball down the Jets' throats because they can't stop the run. Remember that? That was the opinions of many in my line of work and many non-Jet fans going into Thursday. The Jets are 7-point favorites? Oh, you got to take the Patriots. The Jets can't lay 7 points against anybody. And now the Jets go out there, lay an old-fashioned ass-kicking, and it's, well, the Pats suck. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me as a Jet fan that I'm not supposed to enjoy a win over the Patriots. I don't care if Belichick and Brady are no longer there. The Pats have owned the Jets for 20 years. We as fans, 20 years for that type of game. Because it has been done to the Jets in that building and in Foxborough basically my entire life, minus January 16th, 2011, when the Jets went in there with Rex and Sanchez and beat New England in the playoffs. Also the greatest day of my life. But who's keeping track? But seriously, Thursday night was a euphoric experience for the Jet fan. Yes, the Pats aren't any good. I get it. But they have a good defense. Christian Gonzalez is a hell of a corner. And to see Rodgers play the way he did, don't tell me as a Jet fan we're not allowed to be excited. Because we have waited a long time, not just to see the Jets beat the Patriots the way they did, but to see Rodgers in a Jet uniform at MetLife playing the way he did. I was in the building on September 11th last year. And even though the Jets won the game against the Bills, it was depressing. I enjoyed it for 10 minutes, and I knew the Jets season was over with Zach Wilson now at quarterback. So to see the Jets at 2-1 for the first time since 2015, no one's saying, if you're a Jet fan, they're winning the Super Bowl. But we're allowed to enjoy it because we have certainly earned it. We deserved what we watched on Thursday. We have paid our dues as fans. That building was rocking. This fan base has been so supportive despite the fact they've been given nothing for most of our lives. Longest playoff drought in North American sports belongs to the New York Jets. So don't tell me as a Jet fan that I'm not allowed to enjoy what we saw on Thursday. Because, oh, did I enjoy it. And, oh, will I enjoy drinking all those Patriot fan tears. Because now the Pats are actually the Jets. Welcome to quarterback hell. I hope you brought your sunblock. We meet every Tuesday. I mean, welcome to the NFL, Drake May. He's still probably sore from that hit Jamie and Sherwood put on him. 7 sacks for the Jet defense. Oh, they can't stop the run. They could on Thursday. Great game plan by Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich. They blitzed more than any other time since Saleh's been the head coach. I mean, they had a great plan on a short week. They executed, and Aaron Rodgers is back. He had looked good, I thought, the first 2 games. In the pocket, the arm still works, making adjustments. He was sensational a week ago today. Last week when he was 5 for 5 on that game-winning drive, the throw to Garrett Wilson on the 3rd and 1, the 2nd and 16 throw to Mike Williams. He gave you vintage Rodgers last week. But he gave it to you in spurts. This was 60 minutes of Aaron Rodgers kicking the you-know-what out of the Patriots in a Jet uniform. I mean, I was in the crowd starting those Aaron Rodgers chants in the 3rd quarter, up 21-3. The Jet fan is starving for success at that position. Competency at that position. They're in the playoffs the last 2 years under Robert Saleh. They get anywhere close to what Rodgers gave them on Thursday going forward, everything changes for the Jets. They have a chance against anybody when they got a quarterback who plays that way. And the most encouraging sign from Rodgers on Thursday was the way he moved in and out of the pocket, the way he extended plays with his legs. He hadn't done that in the first 2 games. He seemed like he was a little hesitant, a little reluctant to take off. Not on Thursday. He was comfortable. He took a couple hits and got right back up. He extended plays to Lazard, to Conklin. And he sent the message to the rest of the league, watch out. All the morons out there who made a big deal over him missing 2 days of minicamp. Remember that? Here's my big question. How much better could Rodgers have played if he was at minicamp in June? Remember that? Oh, he missed 2 days of mandatory minicamp, even though he told the Jets a month earlier he wasn't going to be there. Went to 10 of the 12 total practices, but, the 2 mandatory ones, such a big deal. Ugh. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. Horse crap. So don't tell me as a Jet fan we're not allowed to sit back and enjoy what we saw on Thursday, because we have waited and waited forever to see a game like that from a Jet quarterback against that team especially. And I don't care if Brady or Belichick, I don't care if they're not there. We deserved it. We earned it. I mean, it was euphoric being there. It was a party. So as a Jet fan, you should enjoy it. You should celebrate it. No one's saying you're going to win the Super Bowl. Jets got to handle their business now next Sunday against Denver, but, I mean, why be a fan if you can't enjoy that? I mean, the only negative I could come up with from the game is, unfortunately, Morgan Moses. He's this week's Jet sacrifice, because the Jets can't win a game without sacrificing a player. Last week it was Jermaine Johnson. This week it's Morgan Moses, but at least it's only 2 to 4 weeks. And thankfully, this GM was smart to take Olu Fashanu in the draft, who now will fill in at right tackle. But this was an awesome night for the Jet fan. And if you're Joe Douglas, I mean, it's probably your dream night, right? The quarterback you traded for played the way he did, which mitigates the biggest mistake you made as the GM, drafting Zach Wilson. Mike Williams got involved. Tyler Conklin got involved. Those were 2 free agent moves you made to solidify your offense. We saw your draft picks like Garrett Wilson find the end zone. Braylon Allen and Breece Hall dominate in the run game. Joe Tippmann graded out as the highest graded center in the NFL so far this year. He was great again on Thursday. I mean, Joe Douglas has put together a hell of a team. The question was, what version of Aaron Rodgers were the Jets going to be getting this year? And through the first 2 weeks, he looked like a competent NFL quarterback that was capable of being great in the big moments, as he was last Sunday. But now everything's different if he's anywhere near what we saw on Thursday. He carved up the Pats, who have a very good defense. So let's not now move the goalpost and say, oh, the Pats stink, they're not any good. That's not what we were saying going into the game. Let's be consistent. Because the back pedal, the spin zone that I've seen from the non-Jet fans after this win, because they can't fathom the Jets actually having a good football team. The spin zone after all that, I mean, it's been quite hilarious to watch. 800-919-3776. If you want in on the conversation, got a couple minutes left here on the show. At Jake Asman is where you could tweet me on Twitter. Only one S. Don't listen to Rothenberg. He's a nut. It's Asman, A-S-M-A-N. So check it out. You're not going to believe this, folks. Skylar Thompson is hurt. He's going to the locker room. You know who's coming in at quarterback right now for the Miami Dolphins? Tim Mother freaking Boyle. Oh, my God. Have the mighty have fallen for Miami. They lose Tua last week. Thompson is now hurt. Why they didn't just keep Mike White, I'll never understand. They cut him, and he signed with the Bills practice squad. We have officially reached Tim Boyle time in Seattle as the Dolphins are getting shellacked by the Seattle Seahawks. Yikes. I mean, that is just, oof, that is rough. When does Tyreek Hill lose his mind and freak out that he's not getting stats anymore, not putting up numbers? Because Tim Boyle's in the game. Oh, good God. Look, it's a perfect segue back to the Jets, though. It comes down to this. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, this team's good. Obviously, I think they can afford to lose Rodgers for, let's say, a game or two. I think Tyrod Taylor is capable. You can win some games with him as your quarterback. I think Giants fans obviously saw that last year. Tyrod Taylor is a solid NFL player. With the talent around him, they're good enough to stay afloat. But if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, right? Let's say he plays 15 games, 16 games. Hopefully he plays 16 games, and the one game he doesn't play is because everything is clinched and he's resting the last week of the season. But if Rodgers stays healthy, this team's going to be good. They have far too much talent for them to not be good. Now, the big thing for the Jets is they have to figure out this Reddick situation. Because I think even with the defense playing as well as they did on Thursday, and they played great with the 7 sacks, Will McDonald reminding you of Mark Gastineau rocking the number 99 with 2 more big sacks in this game. What, he's got 2.5 sacks? So he's got 5.5 sacks the last 2 games. He's been great. He's been great. But they're going to need another defensive player to that D-line. Hopefully it's Reddick because you made the move for him. But if not, who are you bringing in? How about after the Jets hopefully take care of business against the Broncos next week, they flip Denver a 4th-round pick, leave JFM in East Rutherford. Leave John Franklin Myers in East Rutherford, New Jersey. How about that? Just an idea. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a idiot Jet fan. But I do think they need to figure out the Reddick stuff. Because it's asinine. It's gone on this long. I'd have no idea what Haason Reddick thinks he's doing other than being stupid and costing himself money. He's now cost himself about $9 million thus far in fines and forfeitures and lack of game checks. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to this. I'll say it again. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, this team is going to be good. This team is going to have a chance to win the AFC East. This team is going to the playoffs and ending the longest playoff drought in North American sports. That's it. It's a quarterback league. You either have one or you don't. And if Rodgers plays anywhere close to what he showed you on Thursday, oh, do the Jets finally have one. It ain't so fun when the rabbit has the gun. My name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. Thanks to Julian for producing. I'll talk to you guys soon. Mets baseball is next.